marketing, explosive growth, and revolutionary secrets that can catapult your business to new heights. You're now listening to the Underground Marketer Podcast with your host, Tudor Dumitrescu, the one podcast devoted to showing new businesses how to market themselves for high growth.
Welcome to the Underground Marketer. This is the place where we deliver the real truth about marketing and explore big ideas that can help new businesses thrive and grow into big ones. I'm your host, Tudor, and today I have a very special guest, an underground entrepreneur who has built and scaled a six-figure lawn care business and has very ambitious plans for the future. So it's my pleasure to welcome Jonathan. Jonathan, hi, and welcome to the Underground Marketer. It's a pleasure to have you here. Feel free to introduce yourself, and you can start right off the bat with your story and a little bit about yourself.
All right. My name is Jonathan. Really happy to be here. I'm humbled by the invitation. I'm 24 years old. I run a lawn care company here in Washington State called PNW Home Services. And I started it a few years ago. It was like 3 years ago. I was selling cars at the time, and I saved up some money. I was living at home. And I found out how much an individual was paying for his lawn care service to come to his property. And he said it was like $400 a month. And I did the math. I was like, man, I could make a lot of money doing this. After starting the business for a year, I kind of learned a whole bunch of lessons about how to run a business, how not to run a business, what to say yes to, what to say no to. And then we started to systemize our business and create these like automated systems for us to be able to scale it better, for it to be run better, to handle employees better, to handle customers better. And then the last 2 years have just been growing that system. So now we have 2 full-time crews working, 5 employees, and the guys just go out and work, and it's managed sort of passively. You know, I'm there if there's any issues, if there's any emergencies, but otherwise I have a lot of free time and pretty, decent income from it. It allows me to live pretty comfortably. It's going pretty well. And I'm really happy to answer any questions or talk about our systems, talk about, scaling, talk about management or anything that will be of value to you guys. That's my story.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that, Jonathan. So you mentioned that the first year that you started this business, you learned some very important lessons about how to actually run a business. So I was wondering what, let's say, the top 3 or maybe top 5 lessons that you learned are, and if you can describe a bit about the process that you went through to get this knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so specifically answer, what are the big lessons from being in business for that first year? Like if I could go back, what would I skip kind of thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So, what are the biggest things that you learned in that first year? Because you couldn't basically make the jump straight from, having no business experience to having the business where you could build the systems and so on. You had to go through a process. So what are the key things that if you had known, you could have jumped straight into the systems bit and building the system for the business?
Mm-hmm. So in general, with any business, you're going to need to go out there and taste demand and advertise and get as many people running through your business as possible, so you know what to say yes to and what to say no to, and you'll find opportunities in that. So at first, it's going to suck because you're going to have to learn the lessons of what not to do. So for example, my business I found that we shouldn't say yes to one-time jobs, for example, because it makes scheduling a nightmare. It makes you have to give 20 times more quotes. And so you're overwhelmed with giving quotes to people. You haven't been able to feel out a customer yet. So you might be dealing with the worst Karen of them all, right? Mm-hmm. And you have no idea that they're going to scam you and not pay you, or they're going to be rude and demanding. So you have no idea. The guys working, your employees, are going to have a terrible time because they're going to go out and do this big job that's going to take 6 hours, and they're going to be miserable. It's going to be hot out. It's going to be nasty. All this stuff could go wrong. It's their first time there at the property, so they don't really know exactly what to do. Usually the requests are very specific. So what's nice about recurring services is that once they've gone there for one visit, now if your employees stick around for more than 2 weeks, then every property is just a repeat. So they know exactly what to do. You've been able to weed out bad customers. So now you're left with, low maintenance, high profitability, nice, easy, polite customers who pay each month, and all sorts of things. Like, for example, if you're doing one-time jobs and you're dealing with like bad customers, you're going to charge their card once, right? And if there's any issues, they're going to like charge back on their card. And now your merchant account is at risk of being shut down because you have a larger than 1% chargeback rate. So it's like bad customers can really screw you over if you're doing like one-time jobs. So things like that, right? If there's like any disputes or anything like that, then the customers are less likely to like screw you over if you're doing the recurring services. The employees like it more because they're at a place for 20 minutes and then they move on to the next place. It's a guaranteed schedule. So there's no like randomized scheduling. There's a million reasons, right? And it's actually way more profitable to be doing these recurring services actually, because if we're at a property for, let's say like 10 minutes for these tiny little yards, we're actually getting paid like $70, $80 for these little yards that we're doing. If you do the math on price per visit. So it's actually way more profitable. So each crew is going to be making a lot more revenue with a lot less headache. So that's just one of the like very specific to my industry, very specific to like what we do. But I only learned that because we went out there and tasted it. Like we advertised, we made the mistakes, we signed up customers for like one-time jobs, and it was a terrible experience. So in any business, no matter what you're doing, you're going to have to get a taste of everything so that you know what works, what doesn't work, what you need to cut out. And you need to not think what is like the best thing for every customer. Because if you try to take care of everyone and keep everyone happy, you're going to be a small little business that's miserable. But if you find a percentage of customers that you can really go after and help, then you can take that, moderate percentage of customers and you can scale that very large. So a lot of people call in. I'd say half of the people that call in for our company, we tell them like, no, we don't do that. We don't do this. We don't do that. We just tell them no. But 30% of people that call in end up being customers of ours. We keep those customers really happy and we make a lot of money off of that 30%, which is actually still a pretty large percentage. And we can scale that pretty large. So we have good revenue right now out of the only like 160 people that we have signed up, but we can scale that very large. And this has only been the 2 years, 2 full years that we've started with the systems that we have now. So it's we should be able to double it by next year. So I think the biggest takeaway is you got to go taste it and then know what tastes bad, know what tastes good, and so you can cut out the bad stuff.
That sounds great. I mean, one of the problems that I see people facing, especially if they're at the start of this, is that you are right. You actually have to go through the process of actually seeing what works and what doesn't. You cannot really know that in advance. You actually have to meet with customers. You have to talk with customers. You have to take jobs and you have to see what actually works and what doesn't. But many people fear the process. And I would like to take a moment before we move on here to discuss a bit about how they can overcome that. If you basically fear the process of actually failing and you're the type of person who just wants to get it right, what would your advice be? And is this a mindset issue or what would you say?
What I had going for me was that I had low expectations because I was living at home with my parents. So I was like happy just to make like $5,000 in a month mowing lawns. I was like, dude, this is so cool. I'm like an adult, I'm like making adult money. I mean, I was making like selling cars, but it was cool because I could like hire people and I was the boss and I didn't have anyone to tell me what to do. And it was like the coolest thing. I was like 22, 21 at the time when I started. So I had like low expectations. So all the customer problems and all the like headaches and everything, it was just like, it is what it is, right? I'm making adult money. So I thought that was really cool.
That's amazing. I sorry for interrupting you a bit, but that's amazing. And actually, it's a very similar answer to what one of my previous guests gave as well. Having low expectations, that's really cool. And I agree with you because that sort of gives you the courage to actually go out there and try. And you need that courage in order to figure out what's actually working and what's not. At the same time, in the personal development literature, we're often encouraged, to think positive and so on. And that sort of leads people to have this underlying anxiety about basically getting started and failing. Were you at all involved? Like, did you read any books like Think and Grow Rich and so on? And did that affect you in any way?
I I remember listening to like Les Brown tapes, listening to
Mm-hmm.
like motivational stuff. Like I remember that kind of phase because it sucks, when you're out there and you gotta like you're weed whacking someone's yard and there's dog poop and it's raining and you hit it and dog shit flies up in your mouth. Like it makes
Mm-hmm.
you really like question what you want to be doing. Like why am I doing this? like
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah, there was like a lot of hard times. But after starting it and after seeing like what there were as far as opportunities, like what we could do with turning it into the business model we have now, seeing that it could be something, I was, just sitting around doing the math, like writing it down on a piece of paper. Like if we have this many customers and I pay my guys this much and we have crews, then holy shit, I could make this much money and like just have them work. And then that kind of like inspired me to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
that's exactly what we have now. We have two crews working, but it's pretty profitable, right? It's like a 40 to 50% profit margin and it's growing and it should double next year. Like
That's
that's really inspiring. And I don't really have anything other, like there's nothing else that I think I could be making more money doing or
mm-hmm.
like have a better time doing or have something with more opportunity for large scale growth over the long term. Like it kind of checks all those boxes. Like, do I get free time? Yes. Do I make, pretty good money? I mean, I could share numbers with you if you'd like. I mean, we have for
Feel
revenue
free.
right now, we're at so the profit's actually a little bit higher because I do like some of the management, I do the management and then I also have customer service kind of like helped out with. So there's some costs in there that wouldn't necessarily be reflected. So I'm saying the 40 to 50% profit margin, knowing that I'm going to have to hire someone for some of the stuff that we do for like customer service. But as far as like the money I'm taking home right now, it's about 15 grand a month, 12 months. And then right now revenue we're at 25.5 a month. So
Mm-hmm.
25,500 a month. So it's a little bit higher than 50% like effective like right now. But I know that I could hire customer service and hire a couple of things and then it would be at a 50% profit margin like as we grow too. So it's not going to shrink much as we get bigger. Profit margin is
Mm-hmm.
still going to be 40 to 50%.
I
Um,
see. Regarding what you said about not seeing a more profitable path, I sort of agree with that. Like, that's what I encounter as well, and I find that once you get good at something and you build a business in a certain field, there's just so much work involved in going in another field, and it takes so much time until you can scale to the same numbers that it just becomes not worth it. It's a lot better to basically stay focused. I wanted
yeah.
to ask you now, you mentioned that at the beginning, the first year, you didn't have any systems. Were you actually the one doing the lawn care as well at that
Oh
point?
yeah. Oh yeah. I'm
Hmm.
out. Yeah.
And do
Um,
you recommend this to anyone? Like, if you have a new
yeah.
entrepreneur? Hmm.
Yeah. Get out there and do it because if you're not doing it, how are you going to train for it? How are you going to hire for it? How are you going to know if someone's doing a good job? How are you going to
Hmm.
know like what are you going to tell a customer when they ask you a question? How are you going to train the customer service people to answer questions when customers call in? So yeah, you got to go do it. Otherwise, you're going to have a rough time. Now, because that means now I can train the customer service person. So when a customer calls in and says, why is my lawn not doing well? Like they have an answer for that. It's because I trained the customer service person because I know the lawns, like I know like how things work. Or I
That's
hire
really
some
smart.
or I hire someone and they do a shitty job and I can tell that they did a shitty job because I look at it. I'm like, no, that's not how you do it. So I can train the guys well. And then when I hire someone to train the guys, when we're, even larger, I'll know how to train him what to look for. So it all comes down like, even when I step away and I don't even train the people to do the work anymore, I'm still going to have to train the person who trains them. And so as I move backwards, higher up into the corporate level of this company, as we have positions, when there's someone that trains the employees, when there's someone that is the regional manager, when there's someone that trains the customer
Mm-hmm.
service people. There's going to be someone that has to train them. And it's always going to be necessarily built on a foundation of knowing how it works from the bottom, because
Yeah.
otherwise you won't be able to train for it.
That's awesome. And a lot of people, they start, for example, by reading books like E-Myth, and they hear that you have to work on your business, not in your business, and they jump to the conclusion that that's how they should start. And I actually agree with you that that's actually a mistake, because you can't figure out all the little problems, what systems you should even build into place without actually having the experience.
And you can want my limitations of like my beliefs to like infect other people. Like if you want to go and start a business and have no knowledge of like how this stuff is actually done, and you think you can go and do it, like you can probably succeed. I
Mm-hmm.
don't can, but if you go and prove me wrong, like I don't want to make people think that like, oh, I'm going to have to work for 3 years doing the shitty work until I can be smart enough to, like, if you're smart enough to grow the business quicker without having to know exactly how the details work of it, then like go do that and don't take my word for it. Because I'm where I am today specifically because I didn't take other people's word for it when they told me their own
Mm-hmm.
limitations. So I don't want to project that back onto anyone else listening today. So I want people to know that, you can grow things very quickly. I'm not going to tell you just because it wasn't overnight success for me. It took 3 years to get just 15 grand a month, like profit, but I'm not doing the work. That's very nice. It's like, it's a great business and it's growing. It should double next year. So we're off to the races, and I've got plenty of time left. I'm 24. So
Mm-hmm.
we're off to the races, but it wasn't overnight. But there's people that can do things. You could grow the business quicker. So I don't want to like project my limitations onto anyone listening and tell them like you can't grow it faster or you can't do anything quicker just because I didn't. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Mm-hmm. Thank you
So
for that. So
I
that's awesome.
little disclaimer, but I do recommend doing the work so that you can train for it when you hire
Mm-hmm.
people.
Yeah,
Um,
it makes total sense. I mean, one of the ways that you can do things faster is if you strike the right partnership, because then even if you don't have the expertise and the experience, other people could. And I've seen that happen in the past, and I've seen it work very successfully. But obviously, you still need to have some skills,
and
salesmanship.
and be careful of those partnerships too, because they've probably got all the same limiting beliefs built into them that all the other company owners do too, and that's why they suck still, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So we
absolutely.
like we do things differently. I kind of had to create it. So the only reason that I'm doing well is because I didn't listen to what people said you should do. I just
Mm-hmm.
ignored it. And I listened to my gut. So always, never discount your gut.
Absolutely. That's great advice. And I mean, how do you go about, because your gut is sort of your instinct. So how do you go about developing that? Let's say that you're a guy who trusted his gut, got it wrong. How do you learn to trust yourself, basically? Because a lot of people have this, it's a limiting belief indeed, that that they're basically not sure, and it transforms into fear, and it keeps them stuck, or it keeps them doing what other people are doing, and that's not the road to success, in my opinion, at least.
I look at business as art, because art is making a decision, and it's like a collection of those decisions of like your self-expression. So like if I'm painting a picture, I'm expressing something, and I'm choosing the paint and I'm painting it. And a
Mm-hmm.
business is like that. The business is art. It's an expression of yourself because it's you making decisions, but it's not just decisions of paint on a canvas. There's thousands of decisions daily and over a period of time. And it's all these different things going on, but it's kind of like a painting, right? So it's like this expression, it's art. I think the highest form of anything is art, right? It's like
That,
once you're
yeah,
past the level of just performing it, then it's like an expression like above
it's
that. So,
self-expression. Yeah.
so if you ever want to create anything and be an artist, you're not going to ever succeed by just copying someone else's work. I don't think that you're gonna anything like there's no real artist if you're just like seeing what someone else did and you're trying to follow steps. So there needs to be a self-expression. And so I look at it as like I'm not going to listen to anyone. or I'm going to take a lot of grains of salt with whatever I look at other people doing. I mean, there's stuff that I take elements of like here and there. Like I use dispatching software for our business that other people created. We use QuickBooks. Like I didn't create that, right? But as far as how I think about my business, I'm creating art and my personal expression.
And how did you get this inner confidence, to basically not be afraid to?
It's not even that I'm confident. It's that I know I don't need to be self-confident to know that if I drop a bowling ball, it's going to fall. So I also don't need to be self-confident to know that if I follow other people's steps in their business and try to copy what they do, that I'm at best going to get their results. Nothing better.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not even that I think I'm great. It's that I know that I don't want what other people have. So I shouldn't listen to it.
So it's sort of like there's no alternative to
There's no alternative. It's like, yeah, if I want what I want, I cannot listen to other people. It's not that I think I'm great. It's that I know that I can't. Like, I don't have an option. Yeah, it's a little like I'm afraid to, I can't even listen to the other people. I have to listen to myself. I may fail, but, I may do worse. But I know that if I want better, then I'm going to have to not listen to the other people.
And it's the other thing that you're in control as well when you're taking your own decisions. You're not giving the steering wheel to some other person to drive you wherever they will drive you. So at least if you fail,
I just don't want what other people have. I have to for myself, just out of necessity, not because I think I'm like amazing. And honestly, I think that a lot of like what people call confidence is just knowing that everyone else kind of sucks too. Like everyone else is just a kid pretending that they know something, and everyone else is looking to everyone else too. All the other people are looking around at like, what are their other people doing, and like comparing themselves and questioning, like, am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? And meanwhile, like that's what everyone's doing. So if you just go into it knowing that, it gives you like, quote, confidence. Like, I don't think I'm amazing. I just know that everyone else is scared and doing what other people told them to do just the same. So
I see that makes total sense.
Level. Yeah, it's all just a level playing field. We're all just, we're all just
Absolutely. I mean, the thing that interests me here is how did you go from basically doing the sales and doing the work yourself to hiring your first employee? Like, how did you think about it, and how did it actually work out? Was it a success?
I actually hired people right away because that I was going to have to hire people if I wanted to grow it. And so I might as well get it out of the way and see what problems come up. Like I knew I was just going to. So I actually hired people. I was still selling cars, and that was like my day job. And I started the lawn care company, and I hired people all at the same time. I would give quotes in like the afternoon. I would schedule interviews with people in the morning. I would hire them. I would go to my day job. I would like give them the stuff to go do the work. And I would just hope it works out and like follow up with them like while I was at work selling cars. And then I would finish up the day and deal with any problems. Like if I got off at like 4:00, I would go like finish the work with them or see how it was, or I would go collect some payment. And so I actually hired people right away. And that taught me all the stuff that employees don't want to do. It taught me what you should be paying people for, like what level of work you can expect. Man, it really taught me about how you got to explain shit like 3 times to people, and you got to make sure they don't forget it, and you write it down, and you like
give them a checklist.
Oh, dude, you got to like, dealing with employees at like a $15 an hour rate. Like I started off paying guys like $15 an hour. When you're dealing with employees for like lawn care, you learn about who to hire, who to not hire, what kind of people are going to be good for your business, what kind of people are going to be toxic for your business. So I learned all about that. Really like nuanced stuff. It's like really, and if you talk openly about it, you might offend some people about like little stuff that you hire and don't hire. It's a little, it's kind of an art. Yeah, you got to be ruthless in like who you hire. And I saw your interview, or he was reading the transcribed interview with the tutoring guy,
Alex. Yeah,
and he was talking about how you got to hire people who wasn't it that he was saying that you got to tell people like the worst day of work and then hire someone who's like realistic about it. Like, oh, that kind of sucks, but I guess I'd do it anyways. You don't.
Yeah, I think that's what I told him, because that's the methodology.
Oh, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was Like you don't want to hire someone who will bullshit you. You don't want to hire someone who would tell you that they would like care. You want to hire someone who would be realistic.
Mm-hmm.
It's like those things, like little tests,
Yeah,
things here and there.
I
Like
love that
motive.
method, because it
Yeah.
really shows you if somebody is bullshitting you, if somebody doesn't actually want the job, or if they're actually realistic and they want to do it.
Yeah. So the guys that we hire, we found a lot of success. I know that I technically can't say like, oh, we won't hire women, and we won't hire the people that I found that do really well in lawn care. In my experience, just saying for legal purposes, we hire everyone equally, regardless of anything, right? But the guys that work out, the people, the individuals that work out the best, have statistically been, like young guys that they come from a good family. They're just looking for like a summer job. They're probably like 22 years old. They're going to go into construction in a year or two, but they don't know that yet. They played some sports in high school, just like those kind of guys. They come from like a good family and they're just looking for a summer job. They're the best.
Do you get high turnover though with them? Because I imagine that these guys, they don't stay for very long. I mean, they might stay 1 year or so, but
dude, that is the best I could ever ask for, is a year out of someone. That would be amazing. No, I'm used to getting like 2 days. You know what I mean? Like,
I see.
I'll take a year over 2 days. So we hire people all the time and we pay well. There's drama in their life. Anyone who's over 30 that's mowing a lawn has a drug problem. Like you're not doing anything good in your life if you're mowing lawns 30, right? So there's deep problems with them as a person. That's why they can't do anything. Like, so you want to have younger people.
So how do you deal with a high turnover? Because I imagine that you have to keep replacing them, right?
Yeah, dude, I've hired like 12 people. I've got 5. No, I've hired more. I've probably hired like 20. Yeah.
So I mean,
you basically don't even treat them like they exist for the purposes until after 2 weeks of having them.
I see. So yeah, you can't count on them.
You overhire. So it's like if you had a pile of wood, like 100 pieces of wood, and 50% of them were just bad. You don't want to build something with all that wood. So what you do is you take one piece of wood, you hit it, it breaks, throw it away. You take another piece of wood, you hit it, it stays. That's the one you keep. And so like you just do that with the entire stack, and then it cuts out all the bad ones. So you do that, you bring them on. Instead of like building your house with the wood, you hit them, you hit the stick, and then it breaks. And you don't build your house with that. You build the one. So for example, what I would do is you hire someone, you hire like more than you need, and you anticipate they're going to suck or they're going to leave. You have to fire them because they're like completely incompetent. They should not be working outdoor labor, or they are just a piece of crap person. Like they can't show up, or they just have problems that just seem to come up every single day. So what you do is you just anticipate that that's likely going to happen. You hire more than you need. You get rid of the bad ones, and then you do it again. You do it again. You do it again. And then you've got guys that have common sense. They can, they don't have a DUI. They can drive the truck. They can mow a lawn. Like I've seen everything. We had a guy that he didn't understand like the height of the mower concept. It's literally written on the side, like 2, 2.5, 3. And he would set the mower to like 1 and completely destroy a lawn. And be like I've seen everything, bro. I've seen a dude mow a straight line and then turn the mower off, pull it backwards, move it to the left, start the mower up again, and then do another line instead of just turning around. Like I've seen everything. Like I see. And the names of these people that apply, like they have the weirdest names. Like I've hired a couple like fucking Leviticus, like there's weird people out here, bro. So you're dealing with a different class. And so you need to like set your expectations, which is why we only do recurring services that are very basic, very simple, very cheap equipment, like very easy. Because dude, if I give them a $5,000 mower, they're going to break it.
Yeah.
First day,
what you mean.
Just because that's what God planned for me today. Like just to lose a $5,000 mower, like just so you got to have managed expectations with these people. Literally last week, the guys didn't latch down the weed whacker and they like lost it. It like flew off the road.
Wow.
Gone. There you go.
How expensive was it?
It's $300. So I said,
and they never pay for this, right?
No. So I said, guys, what do you think is fair? Because this was actually a pretty good crew. fair. And they're like, well, we can like pay for, I was like, okay, here's what we'll do. We'll split the cost halfway. I pay half, you pay the other half. And then you split that cost between you two. So they paid $75 each out of it. And I paid the 150 because it happened. Right? That's the first time they've done something like that this year. But like that's what happens though, right? Those are good guys. I'm not going to talk bad about Chase. He's a good guy. So they do good work. But stuff like that happens, right? And so you got to learn how to filter out the bad employees and how to attract good ones, how to keep the good ones. And I found that the young guys that are just working for like a summer job, they learn quickly. They come from a good family, like they're reliable. When they say they're going to be there, they actually show up. They know how to communicate. They don't have these weird like lapses in communication where you try to call them and they just don't answer. Like it's it's weird. Like I've hired a lot of weird people and like very, very behavior makes you scratch your head and you're like, what the hell's going on, dude? Like they said they loved the job and then they just didn't show up and never called text. They blocked me. Like, what's going on? Like, what? So a lot of confusing things happen when you're paying, a lot of weird stuff. So the best guys have always been young dudes that are comfortable working outside. They come from a good family. Those have been the best guys.
I imagine that this must be one of your biggest problems at the moment, the turnover and the fact that you have to keep looking for people. I suppose that you've perfected some sort of system to actually help you do this so that, it never actually creates any shortages for you of labor or anything like that.
So what we're doing is have a few guys that are like young and like living at home that could be like backup guys I could call, right? So I could call Connor. I could call Griffin. I could call Dylan. I can think of like 4 people off the top of my head that I could call. Yeah. And then I know some of the guys will come in on a weekend. So if we're short, and then if there's really a problem, we can't, like have another guy for that day, then I can come in and do the work. Right. That's, like I'm not above it. Like it's part of the business. Right.
Absolutely. But,
what we're going to be doing is once we get to a little bit larger size, like 3-4 crews right around there, we're going to have like a dedicated employee that does other services that isn't necessarily related with our company, and it's not even to make any money in those services. It's going to be something like we have one dude that just kind of pressure washes people's houses or something, right? Like something really like whatever, and we're not trying to make any money with it. It's just so like if we need him, we can just call him and say, hey, you're not going to be pressure washing today. You're going to be mowing lawns today, because a baseball team doesn't have 9 guys on the team. They have like 15. Right. And if a guy gets injured or if a guy has to come out of the game, they have someone on the bench sitting there waiting. How do we do that in our own company is the question. Right. So that's what we're going to be doing, is having like some auxiliary service that we could just cancel at any time and just say like, hey, we're not going to that person's not going to pressure wash your house today. And like, he's going to come mow lawns. So he's going to be our backup guy. He could come in for a day.
I see.
Let's say the guy that is out for the day, like it's just a day off and his dog is sick or something, he's got to take care of that crap, then the guy can cover for him. So there's going to be like this automatic like shift coverage going on, because that is one of the biggest problems with like home service companies or anything like that, is dealing with employees, dealing with reliability. And especially when you have a schedule like ours where the work's got to get done and it's on the schedule and we can't like just go home for the day. We got to get it done. Having guys on deck ready to go is key.
It's
and turnover. Yeah. So for me, turnover, sorry to interrupt, but turnover, I don't care if they're here for a year. Like people say the turnover is high. I mean, they're leaving after just 6 months. I'm like, dude, if I could get 6 months out of people consistently, I'd be pumped. Like, because we train them in one day. Right. And this employee who's going to be making me $7,000 a month. Like I will train them for a day. I don't care. That's not that bad. At 10 crews, we're going to be making $250,000 a month.
Nice.
So wait, I take that back. $125,000 a month. Okay. Still not bad. Right.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's like $500,000 a month or $500,000 a year profit at like 10 crews. So I'll take that. You know what I mean? I'll take that.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's really inspiring because, everybody, as you said, normally thinks that you want minimum turnover, and whatever, and that's what you should aim for, so you should hire people who don't leave. But you figured out that in your case, if you hire those people who don't leave, they create a lot of other problems, I imagine, the 35-year-old guy, as we talked about, and so on. So what's inspiring is that you actually found a way to thrive with a high turnover, and you don't care about the high turnover anymore.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think that's the case. I mean, I talk to people that have worked as managers or worked having jobs in like food chains or working at like, I don't know, my girlfriend was a manager at like Papa Murphy's, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she said that they didn't even count you as a person. They said, we don't even count you as a person on the schedule until like at least 2 weeks to 3 weeks in. Like you're not even, you're just a trainee and
yeah,
you don't exist. You're just there. And what's nice is if they're down people, it's like you have 4 people instead of 5. Oh, well, it's just a little busy for them. With us, it's like you don't really just have one guy mowing. Like you're not going to get it done. You know, it has to be like you got to have 2 guys on a crew. They got to be out there working. So we have a little bit less of a margin. And even then, they still can't even rely on people for their schedule. Like they still don't even count them as a person until like after a few weeks. So yeah, I think a lot of companies hide their turnover. They don't really talk like, I think it's a lot worse than people say, you know, like, oh, these people are only staying for a year. Like, dude, you know, when I hire someone, there's like a good chance they'll just disappear. So like, you know, oh no, they're only staying for a year. Like, dude, yeah, we work just fine with people coming and going. What I really care about more than anything is knowing when they're going to come and when they're going to go. Like,
it's fascinating that you built your business that way, because I mean, especially for me, because I have people that I've been working with for many years, you know. So for me, it's fascinating to hear how you're making it thrive with that, and it's really awesome. You know, it's inspiring, it's motivating, and yeah, it's just fascinating. The other thing that I wanted to ask you here with regards to systems. So you mentioned that in the second year, in 2019, if I'm correct, you moved into really building systems into the business and basically making this into a real business. So how did you go about that, and what sort of process did you go through?
So every customer, we sign up, quote, I give them the quote. There's the same stuff that we tell them when they call in. They say, we do these services. We don't do this. It's 12-month contracts. We only service these kind of properties, blah, blah, blah. Then we schedule the quote. I go give them the quote, or I tell them, like, this is what we do. This is what we don't do. Here's the price. Great. They sign up. I have an iPad that has a form on it where I collect their payment info. We sign them up. We get them. And then we go home, put it into the system. We put them into our recurring billing software on QuickBooks. We charge their card for the first payment, and then we put them into our dispatching software. We use House Call Pro. We put them in the dispatching software, and then each morning we make the schedule. We put the jobs on House Call Pro, like for the dispatching software. We send it out to the guys. We can manage, where the guys are, what they're doing. We put the notes in each property. Customers can call in or text or email us if they have questions or concerns or requests or complaints. And then those go into the notes for the guys for the next visit. We have contracts for everything. So they're all the same contracts. The only thing that changes are the names, the amounts, and the locations. And then very rarely do we change actually like what services we're going to be doing. So that's kind of the system. It's not like, hey, you tell us what you need done, we'll make it work, and then Venmo me the money. So we tell them how it's going to be. Here's what we do.
It's sort of a productized service.
Yes, exactly. You have to define what you're really selling people so that you're not just taking care of them and then like whatever they say. Like,
I hear you.
I need bark brought in, or I need you to got these shrubs, or I need that. We find a happy medium between what's included, what's not. But productizing a service is definitely what we're doing. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, and it's really awesome, and I'm starting to move towards that direction as well, because at the moment my business is very personalized in terms of the services that we offer. Like, we are really tailor-made for the needs of the client, whatever they are, which means that our services are very, very expensive compared to all the other alternatives, but it's a lot more difficult to scale above certain numbers. So I agree with you that turning your service into a productized version and going for something that has, let's say, mass appeal and can appeal to a lot more people. Basically, volume is more important than the magnitude of one sale.
It depends on what you want, Like we want to be the McDonald's of lawn care, so that's what we built for. There's another company nearby area that does like big projects. They'll do big commercial stuff. They'll put in, like, if you've got a school and you need it landscaped, they'll do it for you. If you need like a giant fence built that's really nice, they'll do it for you. They'll charge you $50,000 for
of course,
waterfall that you want done. And but the problem is that company would never be able to be nationwide and scaled up. Because the owner's got to be kick ass. Right?
I know.
It's going to be a guy that is amazing at what he does, and he can manage, and he's got the best workers, and they do an amazing job, and they've got this high-end equipment that you could break and like all that stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're probably understanding why I also work with people for years, because I try to find the very best. But yeah, I agree with you. I've never been able to take myself completely out of the business, especially the strategic aspect of it. For high-end services, there's just no way, because you need to have that brain behind the operation, so to speak.
Yep. No, we have some systems you could just write down on a piece of paper and like, here's your script. Here's what we do. Here's what we don't do. The only thing that I think is kind of tough is pricing. I'll base like our pricing off of, like how much time I think it's really going to take for our guys to do each visit, plus a little bit of like what I feel the customer is. Like if they're kind of a complaining, like high maintenance person, I'm going to add another like $25 a month on top of that quote. If we don't really need the extra customers right now, then it'll be a higher quote and we'll say no to a lot more stuff. Like there's a little bit of an art to it, right? But as we get bigger, I'll be able to train it. It's just like, that'll probably be the hardest part to train is the pricing. So what we're probably going to do is we're probably going to have salespeople that are, they do the groundwork. So they have a script that they follow. They meet with the customer. They gather like all the notes of everything that the customer needs. And then they submit it instantly to the cloud or something where one person sits at a desk, looks at it and goes like, ding, here's your price. That way we're not enabling. Because like, for example, a salesperson at a car lot selling cars, they don't get to pick the price of the car. They just sell you on it and gather your info. And then the sales manager back at the desk is like, no, we're not going to discount this, or we're going to discount this, or it's going to be this price. That's what we're going to do with our stuff. Is we're going to have salespeople that do the groundwork, that are out there looking at the property, gathering everything. It gets submitted right away to the the price person, and then they pick a price like right there. And it's going to be someone who can do like 100 quotes a day, instead of like one salesperson who's got to drive around. So that's how we're going to do it. We're going to have one highly trained like sales manager person that picks the prices on stuff, and then we're going to have like low level sales people that just go out and do the groundwork of it, right?
That makes sense. Absolutely. So you mentioned that you've limited the amount of services that you offer. I wanted to ask you about that. How did you actually go about deciding which services to offer and which ones not to offer?
Anything that someone can take care of, like that's involved in a recurring maintenance schedule, we pretty much do. So anything that can kind of be fit like within an hour, we'll do. So we'll rip out someone's shrubs or something, but we won't go buy them, bring them to your house and install them. We're not going to we'll rip stuff out and throw it in the truck bed. We'll take care of weeds and we'll spray a weed killer and stuff like that. But we're not going to take out every little weed by hand in your entire gravel driveway that takes 3 hours. We're not going to do that. So that's what I explain to customers. Like if there's requests, it's something that can get done in a recurring visit. And if it's not something that can get done within that hour type thing, we're not even going to try with it. So landscaping projects, and so maintenance stuff. We do maintenance stuff. Now we even do stuff like dethatching people's yards. We even overseed them. We fertilize them. We can do weed killer. We can do moss killer. We can trim hedges down. We can rip out shrubs and things, clean out people's bed, pretty intensive stuff, right? All that stuff. But the actual time spent doing those kind of things is actually not all that bad. It really only takes like an extra 15 minutes at a property to do something. And so to the customer, that's a really high added value. It takes us away from being a commodity. So for example, if someone says like, well, Jose's lawn service will mow my yard for like $40, and I don't mind paying them cash. Well, it's like, well, we're not Jose's lawn service. We can, you can let us know what kind of problems you have. You could text us and say that you have moss in your yard. It'll get, the moss killer will get put down. We can dethatch it. We can rake it up and haul it out, like all those things. And it really only takes like an extra 15 minutes for the guys, like when they're there at the property, especially since we're dealing with like smaller properties. So it's that value add that allows us to be very profitable. And what's nice is those extra services really only need to be done like once or twice a year. So it's only like one visit where we're spending an extra 20 minutes, but it's this like huge amount of mental like added value to the customer. So they're like, oh, I'm paying you $150 a month, but that still seems worth it, because it's not like they get the feeling of having like a concierge type thing for their lawn where they can just get things done, but it really doesn't take that much more time. So the services we offer would be like mowing, edging, blowing. That's like on every visit. Weed control, like we weed whack weeds and then spray them. We can fertilize your yard. We can trim hedges, but those things are just like by request. Everything that's not like the basic stuff, kind of just you got to ask for it, but it gets done for no extra charge. So
that's really cool. How did you really go about, because you seem to be very familiar with all the technical aspects. I imagine that when you started, you weren't, so how did you go about learning about it? Did you just do it, or did you read about it first? How did that sort of develop?
I remember trying to learn about taxes. I remember when I was like, how the fuck do I pay? What are employment taxes? Like, why is no one helping me with like, what? I can't find anything about it. I was trying looking it up. I didn't understand it. Like, where do I go? Like, how do I just pay it? What the hell? I remember it was like the most frustrating thing. So a lot of stuff you just kind of learn. I remember when I started, a customer said, send me an invoice. And I didn't know like, what's an invoice? Like, what does that mean? Like, how do you pay it? It's like, well, it's like a thing that says like, here's what you owe us. I'm like, great. How am I supposed to get their money? Like, how do I put their money in my pocket? What do I do? What's the point of an invoice? Really basic, like embarrassingly basic questions, right? Looking back. Yeah, man. So you got to learn, you just like figure it out. That's what they made Google for, So I didn't even know what invoices were. So now I know everything, now I know all this stuff, and I know like what I can do. I can do some whole lot of like wizardry, with like business stuff. Now I can do things a lot easier. I have all the options and flexibility, and I know like what I can do now.
That resonates with me. I mean, I went through a very similar process, and I remember in the beginning when you are right, nobody helps you. Yeah. And you don't really find this stuff, it's like,
it's awful, bro. Like, yeah, I paid LegalZoom $700 to set me up with a business. They set it up in Texas.
Wow.
Like I paid them $700 and they just like, no, I'm like, no, Washington. Like I didn't do it wrong. They did it wrong. Like I didn't know anything. It was the worst thing ever. I didn't know you could just walk into the Secretary of State and then send a little thing on the IRS website, get your EIN number, get some walk into a bank account and get a bank account set up. Like I did all that in one day. I can do the stuff that takes like weeks. Usually for people, I can do it in like 4 hours because I know how to do it.
Yeah. It's really about getting that knowledge that you need initially.
Yeah. But as far as like technical stuff, like you mean like digital marketing, like how to build websites and shit?
Not necessarily, but I'm referring to the technical stuff of like what stuff is on the lawn, how to get rid of whatever if the lawn is deteriorating, how to fix the problem.
Yeah, starting and then getting questions from people and then Googling it that night because you not answer the question. So like people, it's like, how do you get rid of clover? And I'm like, and I just Google it. I'm like, how to get rid of clover, and then and then so now like we keep in the truck, we keep like fertilizer, we keep weed and feed, which is like it feeds the lawn. It also kills the weeds in the grass. It's a granular spread thing. And then we have weed killer and then we have moss killer. And, we also have another one. We have like spot repair, like seeding stuff. It's mixed with like mulch and fertilizer. You just dump it into a place where it needs seed and it just grows right away. Like you don't need to like bring in extra dirt or anything. So we have that kind of stuff. And I guess you just learn that, like, yeah, you just kind of find a sweet spot. You just kind of like figure out what you need to have for the next visit. And then it becomes like something standard that every crew has. Each crew has a company card that they go and buy stuff at Home Depot with. So they can just go buy stuff when they need it. And I see the transactions, they buy the gas. So I just give that to them. Pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Right. So I think that we have quite a bit of background here, and I think that we should move into the exciting stuff, how you actually went about getting your clients. And let's start from the very beginning, like how did you go about getting your first clients? How did you set that up and how did it work out?
Yeah, so we got our first clients. I advertised on Craigslist right out of the gate, and I got some customers. And then I didn't start Facebook ads until 2019. Our customer acquisition cost in 2019 was like, I think it was like $4 per conversation started. And then it was like
that's very good.
30 or 40% closing ratio for those people. So $12, $15 to get a customer. And this customer is going to profit us like $1,000 over the course of
Wow. Yeah, that's a great ROI.
And we have a retention rate of like 80. So then that 1 year customer is going to be worth like 4 years if you look at the lifetime value or something like that. So then it's like, okay, one customer equals $4,000 profit plus any referrals that customer gives us too. So it's probably even higher. I think honestly, considering like referrals too, I think we're at like one customer is like an indefinite customer, because one customer will get us like 0.3 of a customer like per one for a year. So it's like, if you do the math, if we get one customer without advertising, if like no one else hears about us, we could theoretically maintain that same size. So it's like an indefinite lifetime.
Oh, I see.
Value, right?
That's
so like
very interesting.
A customer with like $1,000 profit a year is like 100 years, like doing the math. So my willingness to pay for customers, it's like, it could be like $1,000 a year of like getting. So I mean, like, it's just a runway of like, how long do I want to be willing to pay? It's hard to describe. How do I say this? Like, the lifetime value of a customer is stupid high with what we do. So my customer acquisition cost could actually be really high if I wanted it. Like, I could spend $1,000 to get a customer and it would theoretically be worth it. It wouldn't be worth it because I could go get that customer for $15 somewhere else, right? And we might not have like the cash flow to afford that, like paying $1,000 per customer to go, but I'd be a little stretched thin for a month. But it's such a good lifetime value for our industry that I can afford to pay more than other companies for their advertising or for getting customers, right? So like Facebook ads, like I'll always be competitive in like any paid ads because our lifetime value is so good compared to like other companies for a similar thing. So we do like advertising with Thumbtack or with like Angie's List type businesses or all that stuff. We do some pay-per-click. We get the most of them from just an organic Google listing though. So how I got them at first was Craigslist though. Yeah. And then Google My Business page, and then Facebook ads in 2019.
It makes total sense. So what would you say is the bottleneck of growth in your business? Like, why aren't you quadrupling in size? Because it sounds like you do have the leeway with advertising. I mean, you could pay a lot of money and still be profitable. So what's stopping you from, doing 4X next year?
Two things. How many trucks we have. Because I got to go buy a truck and then a trailer. So this year I bought 3 trucks in the past year and a half. So because I had an older truck that was like just wasn't reliable, wasn't going to work. That's what I started with. I paid like $3,000 for it. Kind of shitty. I bought a 2017 Toyota Tacoma. I bought a 2018 F-150, and I just bought a 2020 Ford Ranger. So I just bought 3 trucks in the past year and a half.
Is renting them not a possibility?
From who?
Like you don't find anyone.
Like enterprise? It'd be very expensive. Leasing
wouldn't be worth it. Okay.
Yeah, leasing though is like, might as well just buy one. Like I need the same credit. They're not going to let me. And we don't have enough established business to be walking into a place and being like, hey, I need $300,000. And Chase is like, okay, here's your money. Yeah, my credit's like 650. So yeah, I had to get a co-signer for I'm not there yet. You know what I mean? I'm not there yet. I will
but your profits will, because your profits are quite high.
We're printing money, bro. Yeah, we're printing money. So we're going to have to self-fund it for a little bit. And then once we can walk into a bank and say like, here's our 2 years prior tax returns. Here's everything. We're kicking ass. How much money can you give us? And then we can get a stupid big loan and then we can Forex it right then. Yeah. Until then, it's how much capital we can get that lets us get, how many trucks. Theoretically, I could hire someone that has a truck and I could pay them more money and I could say, we'll use yours. But that's just like, why not just wait? Why not just wait a few months or a year and then just, do it the right way? It's okay. I'm not that rushed. Let's not be sketchy about how we do it.
So what's worrying you about that? Is it the loss of control because you don't own the truck?
I guess my gut just says it's a bad idea. What if they quit? Then,
that's the
thing. Then we get like 30 bad reviews from customers that are like, did they stop showing up? Why not just wait a little bit and have way less headaches? Stuff like that. But that's what's stopping us, I guess, is just like a little bit of capital. We'll just wait.
Yeah.
Then the seasonality of signups. After this month, signups are going to be pretty light. So we do all of our signing up March, April, May, and June. So we have 4 months. And we went hard. I was giving quotes. I was doing the work with the guys. I was busting my ass, putting in really long hours this spring. And now it's paying off. It's going to pay off for the rest of the year.
Awesome.
So I guess that is the answer, is like seasonality of signups, and then just capital of like trucks we have. So for example, next year, we're going to have, the goal is going to be 4 crews working full time. So we're going to be at, $50,000 a month revenue with like a 50% profit margin.
Wow. So nice.
I'm okay with that. Like my income doubling every year is acceptable for me. I'm okay with that. Like I'm not going to bitch too much about that, especially since the type of money that I'm making is not the same as like other fast money. Like I'm not a rapper who's doing really well and he's at the top of the charts this month and then it's going to disappear. I'm not a athlete where I'm getting paid $10 million and then the next year it's like 3, then the next year it's 0. I'm not an investor in Dogecoin where I just made like $2 million and then like now it's back to $500,000. Like, that's not what this kind of money is. It's money printing itself each year and it's probably not going anywhere anytime soon. I don't know. I think with how bad my industry is and how lame it's been and how little it's changed, that the money we're making is just going to keep printing for a while.
Like that's awesome.
It's getting bigger each year, and the people we have signed up stay with us. So we have a really good Amazon store and we're doing really well, and then it could disappear tomorrow. It's like this ramp, and each year is bigger than the last one, just by default.
Yeah, you add to it continuously.
Yeah, it would be really fucked up for us to be losing revenue. So I'm not too sad about doubling my income each year. You know what I mean?
And it's sustainable. I think that's a big point for you, that you're going for sustainable growth.
Yeah, and sorry if I sound like a dick coming out. Like, I don't know. Like, it sounds like I'm bragging. I'm really not trying to like.
I don't think so at all. I like it. I mean, it's inspiring for a lot of the listeners for sure. And it just shows people what you can do. I love that personally.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. Our customers are happy and our employees are happier. I think that's a big thing too, is keeping your employees happy. We pay them like $19 to $20 an hour to mow lawn. So as long as you're...
Is that higher than the average in the
Definitely higher. Yeah. So the big competition that we have is like, there's other lawn care companies, but there's also like other types of jobs too that we have to compete with. And like, where would my people want to leave to? And like, you got to offer something better than that. So, because it's a marketplace, right? This is the labor market. So oftentimes I'm competing with like warehouse jobs where the guys don't like the work and it's not even reliable hours and they're getting like $14 an hour. So we pay like $19 an hour. The guys get the jobs done for the day. And even if it's done in like 6 hours, they get to go home early and they get paid for the full 8. It's like kind of flexible scheduling. Like, it's okay if they're a little bit late or they have to leave a little bit early as long as the jobs get done, and they get paid like the same amount each week. So there's very little like me breathing down their neck. They just have to get the jobs done, few complaints. That's easy to do because the work we do is very simple. So the guys actually love their jobs, and they tell me that there's nothing else close to it that is ever like, there's nothing close to it. I mean, they'll probably move on to other types of work, in a year or two. They'll probably go to college, or they'll go get like a construction management job where they're making like 50, 60 grand a year. There's different things that they're going to move on to. But as far as like this type of work, there's nothing that beats it. They really love it. They're having a great time.
That's awesome, because it goes to show how important having a good offer basically for your employees as well is. And I think that you have this here. So that's absolutely fantastic. One other thing I wanted to ask you, going back a little to your advertising. So I know that you mentioned both the advertising that you do and also the organic stuff. We're going to talk about both, but first I want to go into a bit more detail into your advertising. So how do you approach advertising generally? Do you hire a copywriter? Do you do the ads yourself? And just how do you go about it?
Yeah. I mean, I think you're going to link our stuff there. Like, so, I mean, you guys could just check out our website. I mean, I did the copy, I built the website. Like I did all that. No, I did it all myself. I'm not going to hire someone to do that for me, because what are they going to tell the customers? They're going to tell the customers like what, in their opinion, they don't know the business. They're going to have to ask me. It's going to be like a game of telephone. Like they don't know what we're offering. They don't know like what the value add is. And then they haven't actually sold any customers. So how are they going to know like what customers give a shit about? So it's very hard to hire a copywriter. I think that would have worked really well for us. But as far as, I don't know, like more details about the advertising, like, so for example, our Facebook ads, we advertise to women ages like 26 through like 55 in our service area. And it's like the top 50% of income. We don't go too high because we don't want like huge houses. Actually, we don't want like giant, nice plate. We want like real basic lawn care. Like we want real basic houses. So we don't actually go like super high income or anything like that.
Yeah.
People think you should. And I think that rich customers are actually the worst customers. So least profitable, highest complaining. They're assholes because they get what they want in life. They're like type A. They'll just like, they're awful. So, we like average people. They're just like, they'll just pay each month. They will have small properties. They're like they're polite people. So middle ground. But our advertising is, we just have a before and after picture, and we have some copy that says like starting at $79 a month or something like that.
So it's quite simple.
Yeah. And it just says like, let the pros handle your lawn this year while you just sit back and relax. And, here's some of the services we offer. Message us to get a quote. They press the button. Their Facebook ads can be like set up to where it just links them right to the Messenger app. So we do that. It opens up a message. We have an auto reply that's like, hey, tell us a little bit about the services you're looking for this year. And then our customer service person talks to them and like schedules a quote. We get a phone number from them, try to call them and like schedule it. If they really want, we can do a quote virtually, just like sending us photos. We could give them a quote that way, but we usually do them all in person. Our Craigslist ads are basically like the same thing, like, as a photo of some of the work we do and it says about our services. Like I just copied those kind of things from other companies advertising, like what looked good.
In your industry?
Yeah, just like what looked like, oh, that looked pretty. Like I know that the customers aren't even thinking about it that much. I know that they look at it very simply. They're like, they see a picture. They're like, ooh, that looks good. Ooh, lawn care. Ooh, that's a pretty good price. Oh, let's see what's up. And then they get a quote. And then it's a pretty simple, I try to put myself in the shoes of the customer and think, what does our ideal customer like want to see? And then like what simple emotions are we trying to trigger here? Like I could have probably been a copywriter in another life, so I guess that's why I did it myself. I did all the web design. We have like an automated email campaign. We use Active Campaign for that. So when they fill out their information on our website, it sends them an email from me. It talks about what we do. It has a chart of like the schedule of our services, like how, the stuff we do. It gives them a Calendly link so they can schedule a phone call, all that stuff. Right. So we have like, it's an automated thing. I can even see like when they open it, it sends me like a little thing there. I get an alert when they fill it out. Then we get a call scheduled and all that. So Facebook ads, Google ads. So I did the logo design, the like brand design, all that stuff.
And the website. Right. So, I mean, with these ads, it really sounds like one fascinating thing that I've seen, because I've seen the back end of ads for a lot of businesses. But one fascinating thing that I've seen is that there are many businesses who make a lot of money doing ads, but their ads aren't very optimized at all. And they simply don't bother because they're making a lot of money with them anyway.
That's
Whereas
me. That's me though. I'm that guy.
yeah,
I
exactly.
don't A/B test. I just
Exactly. So, and then there are other businesses which are the exact opposite. Like they spend so much effort on their ads and they invest so much in their copyright and they get no results or very small results. So it's always been one of those fascinating things, and it's actually what taught me that the offer and the audience that you're targeting are both more important than your actual copywriting.
yeah. It's a mix. There's a lot of stuff that factors into it. What if I couldn't afford that same cost, the acquisition cost of a customer? What if our profits were so much smaller and I had to, like we'd sign up less people or it wasn't as profitable. So now I had to be really damn good at Facebook ads.
Yeah.
That changes it, right? So everything kind of feeds into each other. The stuff that we do is more profitable with a higher profit margin, which allows me to pay the employees more, which gives me less headaches, which, and that allows me, and the more money that we have, the higher profit margin we have, now pay more for ads. So I don't have to be so nervous that our, cost per click is like an extra 20% higher than it used to be. Because our cost per click this year is like twice as much.
I know.
Twice as much. And I was like, what the fuck? I don't even know what. Do you know why? I don't know why.
Well, yeah, I do.
iOS update.
So, yeah, exactly. The iOS update.
We weren't even retargeting. We didn't do any retargeting though. I thought that was only that affect the price for all advertising though.
It interferes with the way that their pixel works, right? So imagine that somebody accesses your ad from their iPhone, right? And they click on your ad. Then they will not be able to track that event. So it doesn't track it, and then they can't optimize and bring you more of those people. So they do say that technically the effect isn't big, but based on the businesses that I've seen, it's definitely big, and twice the cost sounds roundabout there, 60% to 100% increase. Yeah. And I mean, a lot of people who were on the edge with their ads, they're now losing money.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Let me pull up the Facebook ads.
It's quite unfortunate, and I mean, have you tried also Google ads?
Yeah, it was a little bit higher, and it was a little bit harder to track. I did not want to set up the tracking pixels and the like analytics to track events and like honestly, dude, we're gonna be better at this as time goes on. I was just doing just asking people when they called in, like, hey, how'd you find us? Was it like an ad or was it a Google natural or whatever? Yeah.
I mean, the thing with you is that you have a really good business model, which solves a lot of the other problems. And I mean, this is one of the things that I always try to tell people. And I have clients who come to me that I actually refuse to work with.
Because they got a shitty business model.
Exactly.
They're like drop shipping like Beanie Babies. And you're like, dude, we're not gonna run Facebook ads to your fucking Alibaba thing, and we're gonna make you a billionaire. Like, chill out. It's not gonna make
exactly.
You money.
So that's what people don't understand. Some people think that if you have great copywriting, you can sell crap, and I actually disagree. It doesn't work like that.
The only way you can sell crap is if you have like a free audience to pitch it to.
Yeah,
you're an influencer. If you are an influencer and you've got like 300,000 followers, you can probably sell some crap.
Yeah.
But you cannot get away with it. You cannot get away with that shit on Facebook, though.
Yeah.
you cannot pay for Facebook ads and sell crap.
Yeah. With direct response advertising, you need to sell stuff that's in demand. If it's not in demand, you can't magically create that demand through a small ad that they see or through a sales page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, it's
I agree with
I
you
don't
there,
know
bro.
why the people have this misconception. I guess that a lot of
Because
copywriters,
they're new. They're
yeah,
new.
yeah.
They got into business because they're hoping it was easy and they're learn. You know,
Hmm.
yeah, I ran into a lot of like people start their own business and they think they're gonna do it. They're gonna do this, and I can just see clearly. I'm like, that's not gonna work at all. Because why don't I just do that? Why don't I just go buy some tea leaves off of Alibaba and then sell it on my Shopify website and then run Facebook ads to it and make it,
Hmm.
and then outsource all the, drop shipping stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean,
It's too easy.
it's
Way too
very difficult. I've had people and I've had clients who did dropship from AliExpress and people who scaled to seven figures actually doing this. But it's very hard. You really have to find the right product and combine it with the right audience for that stuff to work.
you
Yeah,
become you're a marketing company because when you're trying to sell stuff that's like easy to fulfill, it's really easy to drop ship stuff. Well, now the hard part is getting the customers to give a shit because like
exactly.
that's so like there's a hard part in every business. There's like a bottleneck, there's a hang up. So the hang up for all these internet, like sales funnel drop shipping, like buy this little cheap product from
Hmm.
Alibaba type thing. The problem is the demand and no one gives a shit. Easy
Yeah.
part is like the fulfillment of the order.
Hmm. All right. So, one more thing that I wanted to ask. I mean, we've talked a bit about your advertising, your direct response. Let's talk about a bit about the organic side. How important has that been in terms of growing your business? Like, what share of new customers does that bring, and what does that consist in?
The big chunk, just our Google page, just organic listing there. We get like most of our customers tell us they just search for lawn care in the area. So I know that the search that they're putting in is lawn care service near me or like lawn care, the city name, like Puyallup,
Hmm.
something like that. So I know that's what they're searching for. So our Google My Business page says like PNW Lawn Care Services dash Puyallup. So when you search for lawn care
Yeah.
service or lawn care Puyallup or lawn care near me, we come up first out of like 100 companies. We have like a
Awesome.
4.5 star review average on there, which is pretty good for like lawn care companies in the area. So that's good. And what we did, so we did that, like the keyword, putting all the keywords like in the name of your business is amazing. Like it kicks ass compared to anything else. If you had a brand name company, like you had your brand name, and then you just put like what people are searching for as one of the terms, like on the end of that, and then like a city name at the end of that, you're probably going to come up first on all your Google rankings. So that's like an instant hack right there, is to just call yourself like if you are if your company's like Magic Man pressure washing or like Magic Man or whatever, but you make it like the name of it as like Magic Man pressure washing service dash Seattle, then you're going to
Hmm.
be like number one, right?
Yeah. That's an
um,
awesome share. I mean, how did you
Not a
figure
lot of people
this?
talk about that either, so I
I
think that
know.
that's
So I wanted to ask you, how did you figure it out? Is it trial and error? Did you try a couple of things, or did you just think that it's going to work based on what you
I just,
need?
yeah, it's my gut. I was just like, dude, if they're searching for lawn care service Puyallup, then I'm going to make that the name of my business.
Hmm.
A little bit of
Awesome.
brand name at the beginning, just so it's not generic as hell, you know.
Yeah.
But it still has some brand in it. We still have like the PNW logo. It's like attached to something like bigger than ourselves, so people like, oh, PNW, and it kind of tells us that like it tells them that it's a big company. They're like, oh, the whole Pacific Northwest, like pretty big. So people when they think we're like a big company, they call in and the phone number says like press one for sales, press two for service. Like we're not like Bush League. We want people to have the feeling of being part of like a bigger company.
I see. Hmm.
Very professional, right? So, but having like that, the keyword name in the search for like your company name on Google is going to be really good, little secret hack that not a lot of people do. Um, but we're ranked number one. Like we come up first, and we've been around. We've been on Google My Business for only like a couple of years, and we beat all the other ones. So we're right up there with like True Green. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're a $1 billion company. So that's cool. What other? I love to talk about all the little like hacks that we do. So when
Yeah.
I
So feel free to
one
go
thing that
ahead.
we might even get back to doing. don't need to do it right now, but we might do this in the future when we're really trying to ramp up, is I bought a phone list for my entire state for like $250. So it has everyone's phone numbers. And so what I did was I took that list of like millions of people and all the phone numbers, and I filtered out like all the zip codes that were in our area that we service. I took all the zip codes, thousands of numbers, and I used this service called Sly Broadcast. And Sly Broadcast sends a voicemail.
Oh, nice.
So it doesn't send a recorded call, because if you answer the phone and it's someone going like, hello, press 5, you're like, fuck you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you're pissed off. You hate them. You're going to go write a bad review just to hate them. Like, you hate them. So instead, it makes your phone ring, and then it like goes away and it says like, you've got a voicemail. So if they're not like, if they're looking at their phone, it might be like, that's weird. Why did it only ring once and then go to voicemail? Like, that's weird. But what it does is you check your voice and you put a recording in there. And so I made the recording. It goes like this. It says, hey, my name's Jonathan, and I got your number from your neighbor. And that they might be interested. We signed them up for lawn care service, and they said that you might be interested. And that's true. Just give me a call back. We'd love to get you a quote, and we'd be super happy to give you a good discount because you're right next door. That way you're saving money, and then blah, blah. If that sounds good, let me know. Give me a call back. And I made it sound like it had little mistakes in it. I made it sound very real. Like it was just me calling someone. I said, like your house here in Puyallup. And so what they did was I would send that out, and it cost like a couple cents per message. And I could send them out instantly. Super cheap. And so the cost per acquisition was like really small. But what would happen was they would call back and they would say, hey, I got your voicemail. Who gave you my number? What neighbor? And what I would do is I would see the number calling me back. I made my callback number like a number that was separate from our business line. So I knew that when they called, it was from like that thing that we did. So it was a separate number. So they would call in when I saw that number ringing, like the Google Voice number, like, oh, I'm getting a Google Voice call. I know it's one of these people. I would see what number they were calling with, and I would say, oh, yes, Deborah gave us your number. She said that your name was Alex, and she said that, the number was, 253-555. And what I would do is I would tell them the wrong number by one digit. So they would say, that's not my number. You got the wrong number. And I would say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. You don't happen to live in Puyallup, do you? And you're like, you don't happen to be looking for lawn care though, do you? Well, I would give you that discount either way because I made a mistake. But that's so funny. What a small world. Would you like a quote still? And they would fall for it every time. Every time they'd fall for it. And they're like, wow, that's so funny. What a small world we live in, that you got the wrong number and it was still like the right thing that you were looking for. That's so funny. I was like, yeah, a lot of people looking for lawn care.
That's a super creative strategy. Like, I have to tell you.
I know.
How did you come up with it?
Well, I found out about Sly Broadcast, and I thought, how can I hunt as many people as possible and like make it work? I got to be creative. I saw that service and I saw how cheap it was, and I was like, dude, I could sign up so many people on demand, like super cheap. So like springtime, we could send that out and we could have someone sitting on the phone. So when we get a little bit bigger, we got like a customer service person sitting at a desk, like doing this. We're going to run this like huge scale. We're going to scale this up, and we're going to do it to like every single human being that lives within like 20 miles of us. Like we're going to do it to 1 million people. And that's when we're going to scale up to have like when we need to fill like 4 trucks worth of customers, which is going to be like 320 customers. Yeah, we're going to send out thousands of these voicemails and like sign them all up that week. And you can put it on a schedule too. You can put it on like a drip where it'll send it out to like 60 people a day or like 100 people.
I see. Yeah.
I'm just going to put it on a drip. What happened was we got all our customers signed up, and we're like, shit, okay, well, I'd have to buy another truck. It's kind of late in the season to be adding another truck. Like, so we're just going to do it like some other time, kind of put it on the back burner, save it for later. Pretty cool. Ringless voicemails. pretty cool.
Yeah, it certainly sounds super powerful. And I mean, not many people know about this. I mean, I didn't know
No
about this.
lawn care companies are going to be doing this, bro. Like, we're going to be the only one in the whole state thinking of anything like this. Like, there's no way anyone's on that,
Yeah,
unless they
yeah,
heard me talk about it first.
yeah.
But
I mean, it's
I
quite
hope one of your
creative, you know?
guys, I hope one of your guys steals it, because I like it's so powerful. I want people to, because then I
I
could
mean,
just say that I
it's
thought of it
awesome. I mean,
first.
the whole strategy is awesome, and the angle that you chose to approach them with on the phone is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, you might say like, well, you're lying to them. It's like, dude, I'm gonna mow their lawn and do a good job. Like, I want to get in front of them for cheap, and that's how I got to do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I personally I don't find a problem with that, but I know that some people would. I mean, you're not lying about your service. You know, you're still going to deliver
We do a
what's
great
yeah,
job. We do a
exactly.
great job.
So I think that's what matters most. And I mean, everybody that will use all sorts of little tricks in sales. I mean, it's inevitable. You probably know from your days selling cars that there's all sorts of tricks that go around.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We had some fun. We had some good fun.
Are there any key
I like
lessons
some.
from your days selling cars that you brought into running this
Yeah.
business?
Everybody's full of shit. Everybody's full of shit. Buyers are liars. That's what they say. When you walk up to a girl that's cute, get on her, she says, "Oh, I got a boyfriend." She probably doesn't have a boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
When you walk up to a customer and then they're on the car lot and they say, "Oh, I'm just looking." Well, yeah, you're just looking. You're looking to buy a car. Like let's not pretend. Like, so buyers are liars. That's the number one thing I've learned from selling is that people will tell you bullshit, and if you just believe them blindly, then you're a fool. If you go into a sales environment and customers tell you like, "No, boss, I can't give them a discount because they said all they'd be wanting to pay is $400 a month," and then the sales manager comes in, works their magic, and then they're walking out with like a $900 a month payment. Like, well, I guess I was wrong. So that happens a lot. So that happens with what I do now. Customers will say like, they'll just kind of pull stuff. They'll like try to test you and they'll tell you things. They'll tell you like, "Oh man, hey, I think paying a lawn guy should be like $20. I think I should only have to pay $20 to get my lawn mowed." I'm like, "That's cool. It's $230 a month. Sign here." And they're like, "Okay," because
Mm-hmm.
they're just trying to pull one over on you, right? They're hoping
Yeah,
you're stupid.
yeah, yeah.
So the number one thing I can tell you from selling cars or from selling anything is that buyers are liars, and that people are usually full of shit if what they're telling you seems like it'd be a great reason to like have them get a really steep discount, and they're probably messing with you.
Mm-hmm.
They're
I
they're
definitely agree.
stuff on you, right? Yeah. So I'm sure you get customers that are for what you do, and they're like, "Look, man, I can pay like $100 a month for your like
Oh
Facebook ad."
yeah, oh
And
yeah,
you're like,
absolutely.
"That's
I
cool.
mean,
That's nice. It's
yeah,
going to be $2,000." And you're like, "Oh shit. Okay,
yeah,
fine."
yeah,
They still pay it. So they were lying about what they said they can only afford, like $100. Like,
yeah.
obviously you can afford a lot more.
And it's not just buyers, employees or
Oh yeah.
people you work with do a very similar thing very frequently. It's one of the things that I learned about hiring. Don't trust the first thing that people say.
Yeah. So part of like you got to make sure people have proper incentives. Like with
Hmm.
employees. So
Skin in the game.
our guys, they can head home early when they're done. So you're thinking, well, they probably rushed through everything. Well, it's contingent on customer complaints, and
Yeah.
they know what a customer is going to complain about. Like, I don't need to tell them. Like, they know. So what happens is customers will complain a time or two. I had to send the guys back to a job today. It was like the customer complained. It's back on the schedule today. Now they have to waste time out of their day driving back, doing it again, then going to the next one. It takes longer. They learn that the hard way. So now they know like what customers will complain about, what they won't complain about. And now their money is tied to like how quick and how well they do. So now they're
Hmm.
incentivized to get the job done, do it right, get the home, and they have the rest of the day, and they made more money per dollar than or per hour than like anyone else. Like
Hmm.
they're making like $25 an hour if you really look at it, or like $30 an hour if you look at
Yeah.
how quick they're doing the work, because they're working like 5 hours in a day sometimes instead of 8 hours, but they're getting paid for 8. So like having proper incentives, and I've made it so there's like really no way around it. Customers complain, you go back and fix it. When you're done with the job, you go home, the pay stays the same. So you're incentivized to work quickly and do a good job.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah,
and
that
then,
sounds great, and it sounds reliable.
yeah,
You've basically made them have skin in the game and make sure that they have the right incentives to get to the result that you want. And I mean that's
yep.
key to building a system out of this. So yeah, good job for that. We talked a little bit about sales, right? So what sort of advice would you have for somebody who is starting out in sales, specifically as an entrepreneur in their own business? And I mean, do you have any sales books that you would recommend or courses or anything of that nature?
I think the key to sales is you gotta be professional. You gotta know what you're talking about. You gotta be likable, and then you gotta make sure you're not falling for any of their bullshit. And then you give them a price for a good service, and you're investigating them as much as they're investigating you. So we give quotes, and I'm figuring out, like, is this going to be a good fit for us? Like, I'm looking at it with judgmental eyes, like, are you going to be a good customer for us? Because we get bad customers, we don't want a bad one. We don't have room for shitty people in our business.
Mm-hmm.
We got to make sure you're pretty good. So there's like a little bit of that. But dude, I don't know if I'd be a great person how to be like convincing in sales, because I tell you, our competition is so crap that we show up at a place and they're like, dude, you're the only people that have shown up. Like, I
I
literally
see.
I could get so much more money out of people by giving higher quotes. I give quotes, and probably half of the time they literally tell us, oh, that's it. That's it.
Oh,
Really?
I
That's
see.
it. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, that's it. And I'm like, oh shit, all right. And I'm like, dude, we're getting paid $80 for a couple guys to come mow your lawn. They're gonna be here 10 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
15 minutes, $80. Like, we're making plenty of money, you know. So I could be, but it's weird. It's like some of them are like, dude, you're the only one that showed up. If you told me any price for like $280 a month, I would have said, like, yeah, instantly. And they're like, dude, they're only paying like 130. Like, what's wrong? Right. So, and I don't even mind that. Like, that's cool. I'm not, but I don't think I'm the one to ask on like how to be the best salesman in the world. I remind people of their son. I'm 24. I'm
Mm-hmm.
a tall, handsome white dude. Like, I have a lot of things kind of just going for me, like in my favor for sales. I feel like it's kind of like easy mode, and I'm selling something where it's like they're happy that I just showed up. Like, we
Mm-hmm.
don't chase, we don't try that much.
It's not a
Um,
complicated sale. I see what you mean.
yeah, it's
Um,
like stupid easy, bro. Like,
mhm.
it's I guess just don't be weird and have confidence. You'll go pretty far in the sales. But unfortunately, being weird and having not a lot of common sense is like unfortunately pretty common in most people. So
But many
like,
people don't want to admit it, you know?
yeah, dude, it's basic, but you gotta just make sure you're taking care of those basics. Like
Hmm. Do you
like
have any resources that you like to go back to, sales books, anything like that, or not really?
not for sales. For sales, I just try to be natural, and I
Hmm.
guess I have a lot of like inner, like, ingrained fix. Like, there's some little things that I guess I could call like strategies for sales that I kind of just do, and I've tried to explain it to other people, and that's kind of helped me like put a name to it, or like what it is. Like, I will purposefully set like lower expectations to try to not be so needy. I'll be
Hmm.
like, look, man, they're probably going to screw some stuff up. Like, that's just what it is. But, like, I will intentionally say things that break rapport, right? It's almost like being like a pickup artist in some weird ways. There's like little things that you do, like you break rapport. You like, you don't try to prove yourself. If they're questioning you, you're like, look, if you've got to think about it that hard, then it's probably not going to be a good fit. That kind of
Yeah,
like
you want
disarms
them
them.
chasing
It
you.
makes them come. Yeah, they'll come chase you more. Like, there's little crap like that. So I guess a good tip would know your worth. You know what I mean? Keep it light. Laugh at things. If people like press you on an issue, just kind of laugh at it, and like, you know,
Yeah, don't
um,
be tense, for sure.
yeah, yeah. And then, one thing, I'll give you a little secret. This is fun. I tell people about this. No matter what belief they have, left leaning, right leaning, if they believe COVID is a hoax, if they believe that, if they have like a Black Lives Matter flag in their yard, like
Hmm.
whatever they believe, right? Let them talk, nod and listen. And then when they're done, you say, it's a shame not everyone thinks like us. That's what I say. I
Hmm.
say that so many times, so many times when I give a quote. I tell people, like, I've had people like they've got a Trump flag out in their yard and they're telling me about how like, they hope someone tries to rob their house so they can shoot them. And I'm like, man, damn straight, dude. It's a shame not everyone thinks like us. And then I have people that are like, oh God, they're like the little exact opposite, right? And you sign them up and you go, man, it's a shame not everyone thinks like us, So all of our customers think that I'm like their friend. They think that we think alike. They're like, man, I just love this company. They get it,
And they think that you're like them.
Yeah, and actually, I do like them.
No, but you are like them, similar.
Yeah,
to them.
yeah, exactly. They, so that's a little trick. Steal that line. It's a shame not everyone thinks like us, because that's just like it's been ridiculous how useful it's been, and I always laugh like on my way back to the truck after signing them up. I'm like, dude, that was fun. I had a good time,
Yeah.
But do that in sales,
But I suppose it has to be an issue that is of high emotional value to them for it to be effective.
I kind of know in my gut what they're looking for out of that interaction. Like, I go meet a guy who needs his lawn care done and he's like 50 years old and he's got a firm handshake. He's a straight shooter. He doesn't take no shit. He calls it as it is, right? And I do the same right back. We get each other.
Yeah.
And then you talk to someone who's like a middle-aged woman, and she's very sensitive, very religious. She's talking to you like, look, my church members came and helped me out with my flowers. Do you believe in God? They'll tell you how you'll get all these people, and you got to know what they're looking for as far as like a personality, like what they like to see in people. And you got to like show, don't lie necessarily, but show them that part of you. Right? Like if I meet a customer that goes, I have a lot of interest, so it's easy for me to do this. If I go out and there's a customer that they like to go shooting, I'm like, oh, where do you like to go shooting at? I got an AR-15. I like to go up into Capitol Forest up here in by Olympia. And they're like, oh, where's that spot? I'm like, oh, it's right here. Like building rapport, breaking rapport when people try to test you. All these little buttons you're pushing.
The basics, really, of sales. I mean, that's
but when you do them right, they're really effective. They make
very
you
powerful,
very likable, right? So you establish things you have in common. You talk about them. Oh, I'll tell you one thing is our sales process. So when I do a quote, I know that we're supposed to productize our service, and we tell them like how it's going to be. But what I start off that conversation as I just say like, oh, so you called in, you spoke with Autumn over the phone. Yeah. Okay, great. So she's our customer service person. So if there's any questions or concerns, you'll have her to work with when you sign up with us. So that's great. And then, she's mentioned in the notes here, you were looking for services. Let's take a walk around the property and take a look at it. And so they point at their flowers, they point at the grass, they point at, the shrubs and the weeds in them. And then we just start talking about how we're going to take care of this, take care of that. And then like what we can do here, what we don't do here. And so, but I let them talk first and I listen, because I don't want to just tell them, here's what we do, and then like make them feel like they weren't listened to. So I listen to them, and then I say, let me propose something. We do this, and this. And here you go. And it's really, in reality, is what I would have said at the beginning, but I can just tailor it for what they're really looking for, because I listen to them and I see like what, I'm soaking in like what they're trying to say, what they're trying to like portray that they need done. Even though what we're going to do is like the same for everyone, I listen
feels
first.
Customized,
so that my response feels just like, oh wow, he listens to me and they know exactly what I need done. Yeah. So that's a good sales tactic I can give you is listen to the customer, have them walk around, take a look at stuff, really get a feel for everything, and then come at them with this like great solution that you've just realized, but in reality, it's something you offer to everyone.
One thing that I've noticed in sales that's particularly interesting is that pretty much every encounter begins with each participant trying to take over a certain position. So I don't know if you've noticed, maybe if you've worked with, let's say, richer customers.
Sorry, say that again. Sorry, what customers?
Yeah, so maybe in your case, if you've had some richer customers or wealthier customers, you can notice that they assume a position of superiority from the get-go.
Yeah,
need to negotiate in a different manner with those people than with those who, they're basically your average person. How do you deal with that?
Great question. I break rapport, lower expectations, And then I basically tell them to deal with it in like the nicest way possible, because I know that no one else even answers the phones. So like all your tough guy act of like, here's how it's going to be. And I'm like, well, if we're the only company that picks up the phone, it's actually going to be like this. So I basically set them up to agree beforehand that they're not going to complain when things aren't the way that they're saying they need to be, like right now. I'm like, well, we don't do this and we don't do that. Here's why, right? We want to be scalable in our systems. And so we got to say no to some things, but here's what we do. If there's any mistakes, here's our customer service line. So, here's what you would reach out to us for. We're not going to come back the next day and fix it most likely, but we can probably put on your notes for the next visit. And then I just know that they're kind of like, they're going to bitch a little bit more. So I give them a higher price so that I know that when our guys have to spend a little bit more time there, it's still worth it. So
yeah, I have the same, like I have a policy, I never say no to a client. If I don't want to take a client, I will just give him a very high price so that it becomes worth taking him,
That's right.
I always tell people.
Kind of the same way. But sometimes, I do have to say no to some, because I've tried that. It depends on the industry. Yours, you probably can do that though. Yeah,
exactly. And I found it that it's really worth it. I mean, if somebody wants to pay 100 times the price, it's up to him. What can I do? He wants to pay it. So be it. Right. And he's going to whine and complain about it all throughout. That's just who he is, Yeah. I wanted to ask you, because we're nearing the end now, so I wanted to ask you a few last questions, which are more general. So, I mean, I wanted to ask what advice you would give to somebody who was like you when you started out in their early 20s, and they want to be an entrepreneur. What sort of advice would you give them? If you had to give, three pieces of advice.
Stop falling for bullshit businesses that seem easy and they're not really like a business where you're actually creating anything new. Examples of bullshit businesses would just be where you're trying to just be a drop shipper because you saw an ad on Facebook that said I'm going to teach you in this course how to make a lot of money on Amazon.
And it's a plug and play course as well.
Yeah, stop being a jerk off in business,
Yeah.
And then don't start off with a giant goal right away, but eventually you need to get a giant goal, because if you're not thinking big and long term, then you're just chasing cash and you're never going to create anything valuable for the world, and you're just going to be a loser. So go after something big. Like I want to grow $1 billion company over the rest of my life. I'm going to spend my life on this. I'm not going to do it in a year. I'm not going to be on Instagram, like flip this company and be like, sell it to Facebook for $1 billion. I'm not going to do that. But I'm going to grow a company big because I've got a big vision for it and I know what I want it to be. And I have some big goals that I want to accomplish in my life and a lot of things that I want to do. And that makes it worth it to sacrifice things, like would I pick the business over my family? Yes. Would I pick this business over my girlfriend? Yes. Would I pick this business over my friends and free time? Yes. Like without even thinking about it, everything else is just whatever.
Yeah.
And it feels good to know, like without a doubt, you've got your chips in on something, and that, and you have something worth sacrificing, like those nights out for, like something that matters, So, start off with kind of low expectations. Just get start doing something, right? And then, but you got to build up something big down the road. You got to have big goals so that it's going to be worth it to keep going. I wouldn't have sacrificed nearly anything for this business if I didn't think it was going to be just absolutely massive.
So, I mean,
why
do you say don't start with a giant goal from the get-go, though?
Yeah, because no way to know what it's going to turn out to be. You have no idea. Like I had no idea about this business because I didn't know what customers would be willing to pay. I didn't know what the demand would be. I didn't know what employees would be willing to do. I didn't know how much they'd be willing to work for. I remember watching this video a long time ago. It was a very old video there was this guy that he starts companies, and he was on a whiteboard, and he said that when you just start a company and your company is selling green triangles, that you're not going to be doing very well. But it's the first thing you do, because it's like you decide that you're going to sell green triangles, and then your business is going to do very bad. And then you're going to decide, we should actually be selling green squares. That would be better. And then your company starts selling green squares, and it's still doing bad. You're still not making any money, but it's a little bit better than before. And then you get together and you're like, hey, I think actually we should be selling blue squares instead of green squares. Then you go, okay, you do that, gets a little bit better. And then pretty soon you're like, hey, we should actually be selling blue circles. That's the real business that we should be doing. And then you do that, and then it gets better and better, and then it's working, and you're killing it, and you're making a ton of money, and it's growing, and you don't have to change anything for a long time. So when you start off, it's going to be like that. It's going to probably suck, and then you change things, and then it gets better. But if you don't set a long-term goal after it starts getting a little bit better, you get a little complacent, or you're going to get fed up with all the shit you have to deal with, and you're not going to make it big, because you're going to go, this is such a headache, I don't want to deal with it anymore. Well, it wouldn't be worth it if you have small goals. If my goal was to make like 150 grand a year, and that was like what I had mentally capped myself out at, I would not be happy. This would not be worth it at all. This would be like the worst thing ever. I've had to sacrifice a lot of stuff for this, and have a lot of like bad days. Like
absolutely. I mean, it's the same. I think for
wrong, cheated, like lied to. I get lied to like daily. I've been threatened to be sued like more times than I could count on my hand. I've been called every name. I've lost money, and I've gone like a long time without making like hardly any money. And then you just get this like feeling of like, dude, I'm mowing for a living. Like I'm just some like loser, right? So you start off like that, and then you figure it out. You build some systems, you get better, things get better. If you don't have a large goal, like if you don't have any vision for this thing, or if you don't see it as something great eventually, then you're just not going to be motivated to keep going. You're going to just get tired of it. I'm not tired of it at all. And I'm having fun. Now I'm like at a point where I'm sitting in my living room being interviewed now over the lake. We have a house on the water here.
Nice.
in
Nice.
Seeing the ducks swim by. It's very pretty out. It's like a 65-degree day here, or like 70 or something. It's a nice day. I'm going to go golf in like half an hour. My girlfriend's going to be coming home and making lunch, and like it's a good day. Things are going pretty good now. I got my employees out working. Life is pretty good, right? So it only gets there though if you're willing to go through things. So get a big goal, try to actually improve something, have a real customer that you're doing something of value for, and you're gonna have to get creative. You're gonna have to do something kind of unique. And if you're just trying to start like a bullshit little fake business, and a lot of people might start off like that. That's okay. I started off doing little stupid little businesses that never turned into anything. But you're not going to really succeed and be making any real money until you start doing something for like something real for people that people actually want to use. They actually like. It's actually something valuable to them. So we have a lot of people that really value what we do. That's why we're getting paid.
That's the key. I agree. So I think that the way I look at this is that I think that you don't know what business model is going to succeed in the market. So figuring that out is a process. It's not like you have this genius idea all of a sudden, oh, this business model is what's going to sell. Nobody actually does that. It's a process of trying things and improving upon them and finding a better business model until finally it clicks, and then you can start scaling up. That's the people who have been successful that I've worked with have done, and that's what I've done myself.
Yep. Another thing I could say would be you don't have to do the thing that you want to do long term. You don't have to do that right now. That doesn't mean like, okay, I will go drive for Uber until I do that thing. I'm saying like you can do another business that gets you some cash to then go flip to something else. because I'm not really in a good space right now to be starting a telecommunications company, right? I don't have I don't have the assets. I'm not in a good spot to open a bowling ring or a bowling alley, right? Like I'm not in a good spot to go to space. You know, I think I'd need some different stuff to do that. Like I'd have
So
to
be realistic.
Yeah, like Elon Musk starting he had a ton of money by this point too, but like doing Tesla, his first thing was like you make a supercar first, and then you use that money to then make a cheaper car, and then you use that money to make a cheaper car, and you use the economies of scale to like get into so eventually he wanted to make the cheaper like Model 3, whatever, right? You don't do it yet. You got to come out with the Model S. You got to come out with the Roadster. You got to come out with all these things first. So you then get yourself in a situation. And that's like on a really big scale. You could dial it back and say like, you could go and be like a real estate wholesaler and do that, make a little bit of money and then go like flip houses in real estate. And you could build up like a big real estate portfolio, and then you could switch over to some other thing. And that could be like what you really wanted to do long term would be like that other thing, but you built your money first. The thing that takes you from 0 to 1, it doesn't have to be like your lifetime goal. You could have something that's going to take you from 10 to 100, but you need something to take you from 0 to 1 and then 1 to 10 first. So like they can be related things. I call it like the kiss your sister business model, where it's like, I think in Bad News Bears, he was saying like they won a game or something, but it was like kissing their sister or something like that, or like second place is like kissing your sister. It's like it's not what you wanted, but it's like you're still getting a kiss, right? So that's kind of the business model. If you're building something up or you're making money, and you can use that to transition into another business model that you want. So like you got to figure out what's the best thing to do from 0 to 1, what's the best thing to do from 1 to 10. And so, like there's other businesses I want to start, but they're not ready yet. Like I want to start a classic car leasing business where we lease out classic cars for like a period of 3 years to people.
I see.
Like $400 a month, and like it would make this much money and this and that. Like there's stuff I want to do, right?
Yeah.
I'm not doing those things yet because it's just not the right time. It's not, it's like we'll do it later, Don't think about like, what do I want to do? And then like start right away on it. You can do it later. You can start something else now that's going to get you there.
Yeah, I think that people need a cash flow business for their first business, something that's going to bring cash, and then they can actually do something that's cooler for them, something that they enjoy more. Or they have a passion.
I think a lot of guys that I know, they're starting home services and they're using it to quickly get into something else. But like, it's just a way to be like, sales, getting into sales and being a good salesman, or doing like home services. Great way to just start off at like 10 grand a month. Like you could just start off, you could go pressure wash roofs and like make 10 grand a month. And just boom, press a button, you go do it. You don't have to, and then now you're the boss. And now, you're working, you're busting your ass. Like now you've got money. Right? You've got enough money that you can start to save some. You can put it away to like some other business. So if you want to, just get started in home services, I really recommend that. I know a lot of guys that are doing business, and they're out there busting their butt doing that first, and then they move into something else. Like I've seen it with like 4 of my friends. They're out there like hustling, and then they something else with it. Now they're, or they scaled it up. Or so like home service businesses are really, really powerful because they're local. So your competition isn't like everyone. Your competition is only like what's in your city. So the competition is pretty light, actually. They're always in demand, and they pay pretty well, and you can just go do it. Some work ethic and some sweat, and and you start making money like right away. So I like that. That's
I think that local service businesses are a good idea generally. And you are right about the geography aspect. The competition is limited. It's not like there's a lot of people who are interested straight off the bat in online businesses because for some reason they think it's going to be easier. But I actually think that it's harder.
No, it's harder, bro.
Yeah. I have 2 more questions for you. One question, I tend to ask this to everyone because everybody generally wants to know, what would be your favorite books for entrepreneurs that you would recommend, to somebody who wants to be
Okay.
Let's say
I like
top
the fast
5.
lane. I like the fast lane for Your fast lane. Tell you what, there's this guy that used to have a blog a long time ago. He was in like the self-improvement industry, and he wrote some books. Can't find them now. I don't even think you can buy them now. Maybe you can. I don't know. They're hard to find. You can find the PDFs for free though. It was a guy named Victor Pride, and he wrote some books for a blog that was called Bold and Determined. So he has 4 volumes of it. His books, everything about everything related to being a man, and how to think different than other people, how to set yourself apart. Really started the process of like a young 16-year-old Jonathan from not thinking like an employee anymore and thinking like a boss, and then setting some goals and really changing like my life. So Bold and Determined. That's awesome. That's a really great like collection of 4 books, because I think like you gotta really work on that core of like who you are first. It's not something that's just like you take someone with really bad mindset and you just tell them some strategies for a business and then now they're going to succeed. You got to really have it down solid, like in your core, like in like who you are has to be solid. So there's that. And then the Millionaire Fast Lane, because that's a great just how to look at how to get rich, like the basics of it. Like you got to have units that you sell, and either a service or a product. You have units, and you got to scale it up, and you got to have all these like you got to have not break the commandments of control, entry, need, time, and then scale. You got to like have those things dialed in, right? That's a great litmus test for seeing like, does your business hold water? That's a great one, obviously. And then my favorite that no one knows about, my favorite that I always recommend when you need to start managing people, there's 2 of them. Dan Kennedy wrote a book called The No BS Guide to Managing People and Profits.
It's a great book, yeah.
You read that one?
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic book. I loved it too. And it's a realistic look from a hard-nosed traditional guy about how to look at managing people and how to not be tricked by bullshit and like corporate bullshit that you see. It's a very realistic book on management, and it's done wonders for me, and it's set my expectations, and it's helped me a lot. I'm a lot nicer than that guy though to my employees, but he knows his shit. I like that guy. And my other favorite for management and just like relationships in general and how to look at like the dynamics of power and stuff like that is it's called Pimpology, and is written by a pimp. It was written by a pimp, and he talks all about the rules of being a pimp and like how it works. And he talks about how like that's what managing people is like that's what a pimp is. It's like psychological management of like your people, and how companies are really just like pimps, and they've got the employees, which are like the hoes. So it's a little politically incorrect, but it's honest, and it was written by a pimp. So it's like my favorite book.
Oh, nice.
So I recommend it. It's Pimpology. It's a little rough, if you read it, you're like, damn, this is like, what did this guy recommend me for? This guy's crazy. Like, this is a terrible, terrible book. But there's actually some great lessons in it that 1000% apply to business. I read it when I was an employee selling cars, and I was like, dude, my bosses are literally like pimping me out. Like, this is exactly like, oh my God. So if you have a job and you read it, you'll be like, damn. You'll start to hear language from your employer that like, it's like they read the damn book too, and they're telling you the exact stuff in it. It's like, holy crap.
Oh, I see.
So it's very interesting. It teaches you the management of people, like psychology, and kind of some good rule of thumb, for like living your life in general. Plus, it's funny. It's really funny. It's written by a pimp, so you can imagine what kind of like sayings he has in there, like just one-liners, and you're like, dude, you could not come up with that. Like, yeah. If you weren't a pimp, like, it's hilarious. So I think I might go read it this week again. But those are my favorite books, and
nice.
They are not politically correct whatsoever. Probably making a mistake in telling you guys this and having it recorded and transcribed, and like now it's written down in saved in history for someone to come back and cancel me for later. Like, I'm probably gonna get in trouble, like in 10 years from now. But it's really funny. So yep.
Yeah, so thank you for that, Jonathan. I had one last question that I wanted to ask you. I think that
Yeah.
I think that our listeners are going to dig those because they're quite unique, quite a few
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
them.
Sorry. One more 4-hour work week. Love that one.
Really?
You got to read that one. Yeah. Everyone talks about it. I love it. I think the idea of, and like, don't copy it, but what you should take from it is that the world doesn't, like, you don't owe the world anything. That's what I took from it. Like, just because people are calling you doesn't mean that you need to answer the phone. You know, you can refuse to have your time wasted, and
Saying
it's not
no.
laziness. It's not laziness to value your own time and sanity, and scaling back your time of managing a company does not make you lazy. Like, I'm not lazy because I have employees working today and I don't even answer the phone for like customers. Like, I have someone do that. The lawns still get mowed. The customers they're still happy. The employees get paid. That's my obligation. My obligation is not to be stressed out.
Yeah.
I don't owe the world anything of like my time and my stress. Right. So taking ownership of that and not letting busyness just control your life. That's like the greatest. I love that book so much because of that. And it made me feel like I wasn't a lazy person for wanting to not be stressed out, you know?
Yeah.
So that's a
It's
very
quite
good book.
freeing.
It's amazing. And it allows you like permission. Like, I'm going to go golfing today while my employees are working. And I couldn't do that before because I would just feel like a dick, you know? But it's like the customers are happy, the employees are happy. Why do I owe someone like me just being busy and stressed out? Like, I don't,
Yeah.
you know, there's no, like, I don't have any obligation to feel busy.
Makes
That's
total
nice.
sense.
So I love that book too. I was listening to that one 2 days ago. They have an audio book. I don't like reading. I just like listening. It's so much easier for me to absorb. I need to practice it. I can't read for shit. My ADHD just gets a hold of me and I like forget what I was reading and I have to go back a page. Like, it sucks. So I love listening to audiobooks. I absorb it way better.
Yeah, I think that it's also the advantage that you can listen on the go.
Yeah. Yeah. Like when I'm driving around, I just put it on. Like, there's a
One
YouTube
last
thing.
one last question that I had for you, and this is more about your business and the future. Have you ever considered franchising your business? Because I mean, you've built a system now, you know that it works. Why don't you bring other people in to make it work in different locations and obviously go national?
Yeah. What we're going to do, that's like a numbers question. And like, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But I don't like the idea of giving someone else all the profit. I think that we can just open up our own locations. I don't want to have other people that all they give us is like 40 grand. They go start their own lawn care company. And then we're just there to like, hey guys, how's everything going? Is it going good? Like, give us 5%. Like, I don't think that's very smart long term, but I guess it's a numbers question that we'll figure out like at that time. For now, we'll just keep adding locations and everyone's going to listen to me and I'm the boss and they're the employee, you know? I think we can get pretty big that way. I think we'll be able to get investment money because franchising is really just investment money.
Yeah.
Right? It's like growth. It's because you're getting money from somewhere. I think we're going to get most of our money from like loans. Because we have a big profit margin. I want loans. I don't want to sell equity and I don't want to give other people the franchising. Like, here's your business. I just want 10% out of it. I want to get loans and then hire employees that I pay well, but then I get all the money. And I think we'll be able to grow pretty damn quickly with the profit margins that we have. Because if I get a loan and I have to pay a huge percentage in interest, that's okay because we have such a wide net of profit margin. So I can absorb way more debt, which then we have such a high return on ad spend. That means I can pump that money right back into the business. So my growth rate can be like huge. My cost of capital can be like higher and I can absorb all that cost. So I think that it's going to make more sense to get loans than selling equity, than franchising. So I think that we'll probably go that route, but we'll see. You know, we could franchise. We'll see.
I mean, if you knew that franchising was, let's say, the faster route, but obviously the route that you're taking now gives you more control and could get you in the same destination, would you go on this route still, or would you choose the faster option?
Depends on the speed. it's like a math equation, and
I
it's
see.
like you got to weigh it,
Makes
just
sense.
like but you're saying like if franchising was faster, would we do it?
Yeah.
Definitely not right now, because we still need to build out our one location to like make it solid. Like if I was gonna write an article and then copy and paste that article and like make a paper out of it, we're not done with our first paragraph yet. So we need
I
to
see.
like fix that paragraph and make it full and like dialed in and nice and like organized and have a good safety net of like reserves and like be able to take some risks. Having too thin of like if things go wrong, we need to have some like safety net a little bit before we franchise. But if we did that, I don't know, I'm so scared of like losing a territory to some dude, and then like now I can't grow the business in that area, because we like maybe we'll franchise for a couple locations and then see how it goes and see like, does this work? Just like I said, when we started the business, like we said yes to stuff to see if it worked, and then we changed after that.
You tested the waters.
So we might just test the waters. We'll say, okay, we're a franchise, and we'll go through all that legal. It's a big damn deal to be a franchise. You have to like register. Okay, so it's a giant whale, right? And like legal fees and like all that crap are registered. So we might do that, and we'll test the waters with it. And if it doesn't work, then we'll just grow differently. But if it works really well and we do the math, and it's going to make us grow like 3 times as fast, I might do that.
That sounds awesome. So, I mean, you have quite big plans for the future, and it's inspiring and nice to see that. And I hope that, our listeners are going to, and I'm sure that they're going to get a ton of value out of everything that you've shared with them. So I know we've been here for quite a long time. So this is pretty much
good, bro.
the
Do you have
end.
Do you have Fastlane form people listening?
Absolutely. So it's posted there. So it will be posted
sweet. Okay.
there as well.
Well, my name's Johnny Boy. So if you want to message me questions, you can always reach me. It's free. You gotta pay. You gotta pay you, but they can message me for free and get questions if they have any interest or any questions that they want answered. I'm always happy to chat. If any of them live in Washington, I'm always happy to meet up. They could come over. We could grill some burgers and sit by the water. So, I just want to open up like an invitation to anyone. If they want to talk to me, they always can. So you can reach out to Johnny Boy on the forum. Let me know what you think too. If you got any value out of the interview, I always love feedback from people. So I guess there's that. That's my only promotion. Really.
And I mean, if you want to put an email link as well, that's also fine. You can just send it to me afterwards, and I'll put it in the show notes, and it will be there.
Can you just link to my profile?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
so I will do that anyway.
Yeah, just do that. I try to stay away from
Okay. So, thank you then, Jonathan, for coming on. It's been a pleasure to have you on. And for our listeners, stay tuned for the next episode. And until next time, remember to keep growing your businesses and providing massive value to the world. You are the reason why we're all growing richer, our freedoms are expanding, and we're all living in greater prosperity. See you next time.